What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to The Order. One of the best things about Marvel's Midnight Suns is how every character feels truly viable. The people at Firaxis Games have done a phenomenal job of building out a roster of characters that makes each and every member of the team feel like they belong. But that doesn't mean all characters are created equal. In this video, I want to highlight one character in particular who, simply put, doesn't feel like their potential has been fully realized, and in my opinion, may be the least effective character in all of Midnight Suns. And obviously you saw the thumbnail and know who I'm talking about. Trust me people, this video hurt to make. Going into Midnight Suns, I was really convinced Wolverine was going to be amazing. How could he not be? A tank with a ton of chain damage abilities, some lifesteal, and his own built-in revive card, Wolverine had all of the makings of an S-tier member of the Midnight Suns. But upon diving in deep with the character in-game, it became abundantly clear that all of that pre-launch hype and enthusiasm over Weapon X himself was a bit misplaced. There's no getting around it, Wolverine is kind of not good. Like, at all. And I'm willing to go as far as to say he might be the worst character in Midnight Suns. Let's take a look at why. First things first, let's examine Wolverine's deck starting with his passive ability. Leveling up Wolverine past Friendship level 4 will unlock his Healing Factor 2. This skill allows Wolverine to heal every time you redraw one of his cards. In theory, a passive that allows you to heal a character, especially a tank character, sounds amazing, right? Here's the problem. In order to activate his passive, you have to discard one of his cards with a redraw, and the healing it provides is not particularly substantial. You're literally dumping a Wolverine card to heal Wolverine for an amount that isn't particularly game-changing. This right here is a perfect encapsulation of the problem with Wolverine. There are fundamental missteps with how his character has been constructed in the game that make him simply ineffectual and inefficient compared to the rest of the roster. These issues are really compounded at higher difficulty levels and reveal the true weakness in Wolverine. He's a tank character who's really bad at tanking. Block and resist are essential to tanking in Midnight Suns. Block allowing you to establish a second health bar for enemies to attack into before reaching your actual health bar, and resist allowing you to completely negate a non-supervillain attack from an enemy. Guess who doesn't have the ability to consistently generate either of these? Yeah, this is a huge problem with Wolverine. Yes, he has the ability to do lifesteal with Berserk, which allows the cards in his hand to gain lifesteal for a turn, but recovering a bit of health for a turn doesn't really prevent the next turn from being a massacre for him or his team, especially if you have to waste that entire turn just farming health for Wolverine. And again, at higher difficulty levels, having a character whose primary function is to absorb damage isn't really the most effective play to begin with, since enemies hit entirely too hard for any one character to consistently absorb without ways of compensating for that damage. Okay, so Wolverine is not a great tank, but he's got to be a great damage dealer, right? Again, not really. While a card like Quick Swipe does an effective amount of single target damage comparable to the likes of the Hunter, Wolverine is simply outclassed by other damage dealers in every way. For example, Wolverine's Piercing Slash, an ability that does bonus damage to enemies with block, is a far less effective version of Blade's Savage. What about multi-target damage? Abilities like Chain Swipes have the ability to provide excellent debuffs, but for a relatively low damage output. Similarly, Eviscerate is a slightly beefier version of Chain Swipes with a heroism cost, and doesn't apply any debuffs, and more importantly, both of these attacks will taunt everything they touch, meaning if these abilities are not used as finishers, prepare to take on an avalanche of damage from enemy units. There simply isn't enough damage here to make these chains worth it. Compare this to, say, Iron Man's Air Superiority, which for a higher heroism cost can impact the entire enemy field, or Captain America's Shield Bounce, which can taunt, apply weak, and do more damage to each target than either of Wolverine's chains. Even Spider-Man's Up Here ability can provide double the weak, higher single target damage while also providing AoE damage and weak spread, all without taunting those very same enemies. It just feels like in everything Wolverine does, something is just missing. Certain mods can obviously help, but if a lot of these chains could add bleed, or if say his passive allowed his counterattacks to add lifesteal, or he had some way of consistently being able to resist, he'd be a much better character. As it currently stands, there really aren't many team comps where he can't easily be replaced by someone better. Everything Wolverine does, someone else does better. Single target damage, Blade is better. Tanking, Captain America is leaps and bounds better. Damage to multiple targets and team utility, Iron Man is superior. Wolverine's overall damage output can't touch the top ends of the Hulk, Ghost Rider, or even Captain Marvel. Sure, he can provide some excellent debuffs, in particular his Power Slash is a strong source of knockback and applying that vulnerable debuff, but there's not enough to compensate for his significant drawbacks. Let me know in the comments below who you think is the least effective character in Marvel's Midnight Suns. I'm sure this will stir up a lot of debate, and I'd love to see what you all think. If you enjoyed this video and found it insightful at all, be sure to hit it with a like and subscribe to the channel for more Midnight Suns coverage and insight. Until next time, have a good one.